And welcome back again to Big B Sports Talk Podcast. Again, this is Brian Hanley. Thank you guys for coming back. Took a little hiatus. Got busy. Had to take some time with the wife, but I'm back. Vacation's always fun. So you guys are watching this on YouTube. Remember, KoolAidSports.com, and it's Kool-Aid with the C. Hit the like and subscribe button like a ton of people have. And then come to the website, check out anything. If you're just listening on podcast or anywhere that we get podcasts, it's www.KoolAidSports. Again, Kool-Aid, Koolaid sports.com. So I appreciate it. Whew, man, a lot has happened here since the last time I talked to you guys. But today we're going to talk about ESPN and what is going on with ESPN, and is ESPN ruining college football? In my opinion, money, and we know money rules the world, and money definitely rules sports. But at the end of the day, money can get in the way of a lot of different things, and it's getting in the way of college football. We talked about conference realignment previously. You know, we've talked about the NIL and all that good stuff that comes along with it. Having said that, ESPN controls college football. Let's just put our cards on the table. ESPN controls college football. And what I mean by that is it runs the day. Is that college football is, at this point, it's almost like it's beholden to whatever ESPN wants to do because of the money. Because they're paying so much money, which means they're making so much money. And again, I'm not against capitalism. Get everything that you can get. You know, gather or generate as much business as you can generate. I'm not opposed to that at all. But when it starts getting in the way and you're making changes and bad changes based on money, look at the Big 12 Conference, for instance. It was beholden to Texas because of horrible leadership and was so afraid that Texas was going to leave and do this. Well, then they did leave. And I was one, and again, I admit I was wrong, and I may end up being right. But as of now, the Big 12 is going to stay. And that's a good thing. It's going to stay. Having said that, they've just so beholden to one team and what they weren't going to do, and other teams got out and left. And ESPN is just, and they're just behind the scenes, just pumping money into all these different things, and that's all anybody sees is money signs. And again, that's good to make some money, but when it starts getting in the way and starts making change for the worse, that's when I think a lot of college football fans have a problem. Now, it can get dicey when you talk about that, because as a guy that loves Kansas State, the Kansas State fans a lot of times get behind the woe is me. We don't have, billionaire donors that can do that. And that's true. And they don't. But Kansas State competes just fine. Kansas State's facilities are just fine. They don't have a 100,000 seat stadium, but as far as nice and competitive as the programs are, they don't take a backseat to anybody. And they shouldn't take a backseat to anybody. They don't have to. But the fan base gets into, well, we don't have the money that they do. That doesn't mean you can't compete. So you have to stop the woe is me type of stuff. And I know a lot of Kansas State fans watch, and I get into arguments with them all the time online. I'm like, stop settling. Stop saying that. You're not that program. You're better than that. You are better than that. Be better than that. And then on the flip side, I've been a Louisville fan my whole life. Louisville has the money. And the major programs, the basketball and the foot have, now granted, it's basketball had some scandal-related issues and still trying to figure that out. Plus, I'll just say it, they made a bad hire. They have a bad basketball coach that is in over his head. But they don't take a back seat. They've got the money. They have plenty of money, and yet they don't compete. Their football program should be much better than where it is. And that's the difference. You got to get the right people in place. And this ESPN, when it comes back to that, is pumping this money in. It's almost like ESPN wants certain programs, or certain conferences, I should say, to be the best. Now, obviously, they're going to have a vested interest because, hey, they have the SEC, they play their games, and Disney technically controls it all. So you want the SEC to do well, all their games are on, and they can control it that way, Other conferences, not so much. And basketball takes a backseat to all of it. I know basketball makes a ton of money with the NCAA tournament, but this is strictly about football. It always has been, always will be, because football drives the ship. It's the way it works. ESPN has got their hand in everything. Every conference, it seems like. I mean, they're just, and don't get me wrong. I'm not here to just say ESPN is all bad. ESPN built the Big East Conference as we used to know it before realignment took shape. And they used to, it built that conference. It did. And I would be willing to say that it was the best basketball conference out there for a lot of years. A lot of years, especially in the 80s. And then, I know the ACC was right there and the Big Ten was right there. But the Big East was the best. It had the best players. It was the best conference. It just was, period. And it built it. They partnered up with them, and every game was on, and it was great. And then the saturation and the more money, and, well, we want you to do this, and we want you to do that, and people be holding, and then coaches start getting rich because coaches, in the early 80s, they weren't making tons of money. Well, then they started making money and shoe contracts, all that kind of stuff. But ESPN drives the ship for a lot of this stuff. And what they are doing right now, I believe, is they're going to end up ruining college football. They're going to ruin it. If they got to take a step back and not demand that schools do all these things. Look, I get it. You're paying a lot of money for something. But you've got to allow for colleges to flourish without you being because otherwise it's just going to turn into pro sports. It's literally going to turn into pro sports. And do we want that? Do we really want college and pro sports to be intermingled? And it will become that if we keep going down this road. We've got to take a step back and say, hey, let's let college be college, all right? And all the money, again, I'm not against making money, but the way that they do it and the realignment of this and that, look, man, in college, it was fun having all those conferences. At least to me, it was fun having tons of conferences out there and then playing the games intermingled. And it would have been even better if you had all these conferences and then we had a playoff. And because don't get me started on, oh, well, we can't have these college kids playing all these football games. No, give me a break. Yes, you can. And I go at the lower FCS level, those guys play 10 games and then have a playoff. Okay, they're playing 14 games a year. You're telling me that at the top level, they can't play 14 games a year? I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. So, yes, they can. Now, I know what you're going to say is, well, Brian, doesn't that contradict what you just said? It's going to turn into pro football? No, it isn't. Having a playoff system doesn't do that. Have conferences. Have a certain amount of teams. No, you shouldn't have 64 teams in a college football playoff. No, you shouldn't have that. I don't even think you should have more than 8. And right now, 8 is probably plenty because every year, 8 teams aren't going to be able to win. The 8th team is not going to win until people start catching up to the upper echelon schools. And it's, again, and I know I've mentioned that before, it's their job to catch up. And they can do it. Just got to get better. Got to be better. Having a playoff is great. I know ESPN drives that. Don't get me wrong. I know that Disney / ESPN is in charge of all of that, and the money is huge. Having said that, it's college. It's a tournament, and it's college football with college kids. Allow that to be college. Don't pump so much money into it that it becomes professional football. It doesn't have to be that, because people will start looking at it the same, and people will stop watching college football because they're going to expect that it's professional football. And it isn't. It's awesome to see the walk-on play. It's awesome to see the guy that has no chance to play in the National Football League, but he can play in college. To me, I think that is great. I think and I mean, again, I know I've talked about it before. I prefer college over pro anyway, even though I'm a diehard Steeler fan, as you can see. I just believe college is much better. The passion, the pageantry, all of it is better than pro football. Now, the football isn't better, no. But the actual pageantry and the atmosphere is better. And ESPN is trying to wreck it. They just are. I don't know that they're trying to wreck it, but they are wrecking it because they're in the way. They were responsible for Texas and OU leaving. We all know that. They were responsible for that. They wanted them to leave. They are wanting there to be 4 conferences, super conferences out there. They are dictating all of this based on money. Now, if that's what's going to happen, which it seems like that's what's going to happen, then it is what it is. You can't do anything about it. It is what it is. I just believe ESPN has to take a step back. I mean, you got to take a step back and not ruin this, because 4 conferences to me of just super conferences would be awful. And if it's going there, which, like I said, it seems like it's going there, to me, it would just be awful. Just having 4 conferences, all you do is play conference games and then a playoff, and I'm like, that's not college football, man. And it doesn't mean that I'm so nostalgic and root for, want for the glory days and all that stuff. That doesn't mean that. It's just you're getting in the way here. Take a step back. Get out of the way. You don't have to be in the way. You just don't have to do that, man. College football is a certain brand. And there's plenty of people out there that only watch college football. And I'm just afraid you're going to end up running those people out if you keep doing what you're doing. If ESPN keeps doing what it's doing, there's going to be certain people you're just going to run out, because it will end up looking too much like pro football. And people don't want that. I don't want that. I think it's a mistake. I think it would be awful. It's just not good all around. And again, and I don't know, I come back to K-State. It becomes a game of have and have-nots. And I know I get on K-State fans a lot by not saying that, but at the same time, they do have a point of we don't have the eyeballs and we don't have this to be able to do that. Now, part of that is you get the right coach in there because, hey, I went to K-State. Bill Snyder was the coach. The same number of eyeballs were there, and we were really, really good. So, and there's nothing saying that you can't get the right guy in there, and I believe they do now, and you can recruit and you can still be really, really good, because football is football. Coaching, all that good stuff. So ESPN's just got to take a step back. I believe they're getting too much in the way of stuff, and they're making it more about money, more business than what it should be. We already have that with the NFL. I mean, the NFL, with the amount of money that they pay, like quarterbacks. I mean, why does a mediocre quarterback have to get, because his contract is up, demand $40 million? I mean, really, that's what you have to pay them or they leave. $40 million for every quarterback contract. And the money, it just keeps going up and up and up. And I know what people say, well, the nil's going to, I don't believe that. Now, the nil isn't going to, it's, some people believe that it's going to ruin and it's going to separate the haves from the have-nots. I don't think so. The schools aren't paying the people. I don't want to go down too much that road. I know we talked about that before. So that, again, another podcast that I've previously done. But at the same time, it's not the same thing. So let's not do that. This ESPN got to get out of the way, got to take a step back, allow college football to just be college football, and don't make it so corporate. Don't make it so business. Allow it to just be what it is. And if you do, you'll keep a great product. You'll keep a great product. And the perfect prime example of that is look at college basketball. Now, I know what you'll say is, well, there's one and done. And, I go, but college basketball is college basketball. You know how many college basketball players are not going to sniff the NBA? But then when the tournament comes around, we love it. We love it. It is what it is. Just allow it to be that. Allow college to be college football. Don't try to make it into pro football. Don't try to mirror it. College football is not going to make as much money as the NFL, and that's okay. That's okay. Doesn't have to be a $1 trillion business in 10 years. It's okay. Just let it be what it is. Let it thrive. Take a step back. Take your foot off the gas pedal here, and let's build this and just do it the right way. Get out of the way, ESPN. That's all I'm saying. Thank you guys again. It's took a little time off, but I appreciate you sticking with me. We've gotten tons of support, and you guys have really, really come through, especially on watching YouTube videos, hitting and subscribing. My email address, again, is bigbsportstalk44@gmail.com. So keep sending me a ton of emails there, and we'll keep coming up with these topics. This was another one that people wanted to see what I had to say about it. And that's what I do, is I just pick the topics that you guys are wanting me to talk about. So I can come up with my own. It's more fun to talk about what you guys want to talk about, so that's what I'll do. I'll continue to do it. Again, thank you guys for the support, and I will see you next time. Thank you.